Hello one and all, this is Sanya Khan presenting to you the 4th edition on research method series, and we are going to talk about the autobiographical research method in this edition. So the autobiographical research method involves delving into the personal, lesser known or unknown facts and data or information of an individual, group of individuals, or a community. Now these can be segregated maybe on the basis of the socio-cultural or economic circumstances, based on the religious, ethical, or other such values. Now, while delving into the personal lives of people around us, or of any far off culture, we need to keep certain points in mind. There are certain ethical considerations which we always have to keep in mind because of the seriousness and critical approach involved in this autobiographical research method. But before we delve into the ethical considerations of the autobiographical research methods, let's talk about the 3 basic elements of the research method in case of the autobiographical research method. So the first one is, of course, the researcher, the scholar, what we call the interviewer. Okay, so this interviewer or the researcher is the first and foremost element or entity when it comes to the autobiographical research method. The second one, of course, is the subject. Okay, the subject means the target group or the target person or the targeted individual. Okay, that is called the subject or the interviewee, to which you go for gathering the information or data that you need. Okay, the third one is the cultural circumstances, or what is called the milieu. Okay, so this milieu is something, the socio-cultural and historical perspectives in which you as the scholar or the researcher and the subject are situated. Okay, in other words, this is also called the Zeitgeist. So in Zeitgeist, the meaning refers to the socio-economic, historical and cultural perspectives which determine the ideas, okay, or the educational values of a particular point of time. Right, so you as the interviewer or as the scholar or researcher delving into the autobiographical research method would display the signs and traits of your Zeitgeist, and similarly this particular Zeitgeist would be displayed similarly by the subject as well. Okay, the interviewee or the subject to whom you're approaching. Now there are 2 types of researchers or interviewers when it comes to the autobiographical research method. First one is the outsider or the neutral, the one, okay, unknown or the anonymous one. The second type is that of the insider. Okay, the inner researcher, the insider. Okay, one who belongs to that particular cultural group or that community or that particular individual. Okay, so this particular person is from the inside of the group, inside of the sample which you have taken for your study. Okay, and the first type of the researcher or scholar is the outsider. Okay, who comes from the outside, studies the Zeitgeist and conducts the study or research based on the questionnaire, whatever is there on the sample group of people or the individual. Now we have to come to the ethical considerations, because as I said, the autobiographical research involves the personal, lesser known as well as the unknown facts and figures of a particular person or group of individuals. Okay, so for example, if if there is a juvenile, or there is any such a critical approach or critical cases, and you as the researcher has to approach the group of people or an individual, so this it becomes highly sensitive and requires a very strict ethical approach. So the first one, in the practical life of a researcher, the researcher must take the consent of the person. Okay, now the consent may involve just signing a piece of paper, giving consent to give you the information, and giving consent to participate in the interview. Okay, now it's not required that you publish the consent paper everywhere in your report or in your thesis or paper which you will publish later on. It's not required. One copy should be preserved by the researcher and one by the subject. Okay, the person, the targeted person or the sample. If required, or if asked, then your source institution may preserve one copy of the consent form or the consent letter. Second point is the assurance of anonymity. At times the subject may ask you for their anonymity, to ensure their anonymity, means that they would not like to reveal their identity, okay, to anyone else except you. So in that case also you may have to certify in writing that the anonymity will be preserved. Okay, means the name, the place, everything will be changed and not revealed. Okay, or simply you can give a disclaimer in your final report that the subject or the targeted sample refuses to reveal his or her identity, okay, for privacy purposes, right? So these two are very important to start an autobiographical research. The third type could be, as I said, third ethical approach could be to change the place, time, and the name of the person, okay, so that there is no identification with the person, with the place, the institution or the organization to which the person belongs to, but yet your work as a researcher is done, and the report is published, or the report is then circulated and used for any other purpose that it is required for. The next type of ethical consideration which we must keep in mind as autobiographical research is that once published or once made into the public domain, the facts and figures or the data cannot be retrieved. Okay, so you must be highly sensitive which part of the research, okay, would you like to publish or report, okay, in the public domain, or which part you don't want to report, right? Or before publishing, it is the duty of the researcher to be highly sensitive for his or her own well-being, as well as the well-being of the sample or targeted group or person, that is the subject. Okay, so before publishing, you may take the ethical considerations in mind, and even at the last moment, if you have certain questions in your mind, you must consult the mentors, the supervisors, to get it cleared up. Okay, and if things don't go in the right manner, then you can even prevent yourself from publishing the reports. Okay, it's not that if the research has been conducted, then it must be published at the cost of the ethical considerations. Okay, yes, true, too much of the resources and time must have been devoted to the conducting of the research, but at the end, the ethical considerations are also important, right? So because, as I said, once made public, it cannot be retrieved. Okay, then there are certain silences or gaps as far as the the subject is concerned. Okay, while in an interview, or while filling up a questionnaire, you must have seen that certain subjects or your targeted samples may not want to answer all the questions. Okay, they would try to skip the questions. Okay, even during the online surveys or interviews, there is always an option to skip. Okay, so that you can click and on the skip button and move on to the next question, right? So this is important because every the subjects or the participants in the research, the targeted group or the samples, they may not like to share everything, all the details with you or with your institution, and therefore there are certain silences, okay, or gaps, okay, in the research. So this is something which we must acknowledge as research scholars, as researchers conducting autobiographical research. So before delving into the autobiographical research, we must keep this fact in mind that we may not get the answers of each and every question. Okay, and there are certain very strict cultural, social, and personal considerations, privacy issues of certain individuals or groups of individuals. So you can't you can't force anybody, any subject or sample, targeted group or targeted sample, to provide you with certain information which they do not want to. Okay, so you as a researcher, okay, we may feel a little dissatisfied with our research because we fail to get the answers of each and every question, and we see that there are certain silences and gaps in between, or the targeted sample or subject has simply skipped some questions, without answering them for privacy concerns or whatever it is. So yes, this may create a sort of a sense of dissatisfaction into the mind of the researcher, and this is why I'm saying that we as researchers must be mentally prepared to delve into these practical do's and don'ts. Okay, these practical considerations, right? We may not always get from the targeted group what we want to get. Okay, now we have discussed and we have defined the autobiographical research, the three elements of the autobiographical research, that is the researcher or the scholar or the interviewer, and then we have the subject or the targeted group or sample, which can be any individual, social group, or any community. Then we have the cultural milieu, which is also we can call the zeitgeist, okay, meaning the socio-cultural, political and economic, and also the historical context of a particular period of time, which determine the ideology or the educational elements of that particular time and its people. Okay, so we as researchers are always influenced by the zeitgeist around us. Then we discussed the various ethical considerations, which are so serious matters while we talk about the autobiographical research method. We also discussed we also discussed the cons which we may face while conducting a research method called the autobiographical research method, because we may not be able to achieve all the answers to our questions, okay, during the interview, survey, or the experiment, because there are always some hidden silences, okay, just and gaps, or there are other cons as well. So I'll just discuss them before we conclude. So the next con, or the next drawback of the autobiographical research could be the prejudices. Okay, the prejudices and the stereotypes which are always prevalent in the popular mindset or in the collective consciousness of any set of people. Okay, so these prejudices, collective consciousness, myths and superstitions may always cloud the ideas of the subject, of your subject, and at times they may also cloud our own minds as researchers, because we all belong belong to a particular set of socio-cultural groups, right? So this is a huge hindrance to the achievement of the objective and fact-based answers from the interviewee or the sample group which we are targeting. Okay, because we may at times just take an example. We have visited a particular location, a town, village, or a city, and that in that location there are certain prejudices, say for example where the women are not allowed to reveal their educational qualifications. Okay, it's just nothing but a prejudice in that location, okay, or a custom that you should not reveal your educational qualifications, okay, if you are a woman. So because of this prejudice, if you ask or if you want to delve into the study concerning the educational qualifications or the literacy level of that particular area, then you may feel highly dissatisfied because of the strict norms and regulations or the customary laws prevailing there, which prohibit the women from sharing the educational qualifications. Now then there can be, as I said, the collective consciousness. Okay, the collective consciousness belonging to one particular set of people. Okay, say for example, if your targeted sample is a celebrity, okay, then the celebrity may at times the celebrity may say or may borrow the idea of some other celebrities or other successful celebrities, okay, so that you as a researcher, okay, or we as researchers may not get the inner idea or the real and the truthful idea of the celebrity's mind, what actually is the real answer. That may get blurred into the ocean of influences, okay, that particular celebrity has taken from other celebrities. Okay, so there is always a narrative, a normative narrative which becomes normal, and everyone tends to follow that normative, okay, or that narrative, wherein what happens that in that huge ocean of influences, borrowing ideas from others, the originality of the particular person is lost. And it is lost in such a manner that even during while conducting the autobiographical research, the researcher even fails to delve into what is real and fact, and what we get away with it is only the influences or the narratives which have been borrowed actually from others and which are not original. So if we conduct a research, say autobiographical research, or in the previous edition we talked about the archival research, then it's not necessary that we are getting everything into its original form. There are always influences, if not the socio-cultural political influences, then influences from other chains of people, other so-called ideals whom we have considered as the ideals. Okay, so these are some of the facts about the autobiographical research which we have discussed in a great detail. In the next edition we'll come up with another type of research, and this is the series, as we all know, on the introduction of research methods, which is applicable in English studies and other allied disciplines of social sciences and humanities. So see you all in the next edition with a new type of research method. Till the time, take care of yourselves. Bye bye. This is Sanya Khan on behalf of the Indian Institute of Studies and Services.